Hi, everyone. When we go about our life seeking acceptance, any which way, if you were to, if you're the kind of person that you're an observer, you can just dress normally. You don't have to. You're not out to impress anybody really. You just simply you're living, right? You're happy, kind of like you're too easy going, and that's good. That's healthy. The world doesn't like that though. Too easy going threatens people. As you go through your life, and if you're an observer and you observe people and you observe the way they interact with each other in any different kind of situation, scenario, people in general have one thing in common. They like the cluster mentality. Unless you're not a loner where you're kind of loner because you're socially unfit, but because you're a loner based upon the fact that traveling alone keeps you separated. You know how many times Jesus called his disciples away and how many times he actually went away from them? How many times? I mean, he did it because mankind in general have too much stuff going on inside of them. And that stuff rubs off on other people. And when you're going through your life, you don't realize it in your normal interactions every day with people, whether it comes through the doorway, someone smile at you, or him just look at you the wrong way, or someone just send forward a certain kind of information, you go, oh, that person is in a bad mood. Yeah, right? The majority of our life as we grow and be around people is we are always in a consistent state, whether it's coming from us or it's coming from the entire environment, which is called the mastermind, or it's coming from even the people, the stuff coming out from them. Acceptance, acceptance, acceptance. They're either going to project towards you that you need to be a certain way to be accepted by them, right? Because they're so amazing, right? And other people go through their life like puppy dogs. They're just wanting to be accepted. That's why people will spend years in jobs. They'll spend years in group situations, in cult situations. Like sometimes I want. I mean, I go to I used to go to a lot of like different size churches, and it took me a while to see the group mentality even with that, right? And the guy up front there was really never meant to be questioned. And you'd hear some of the most, not all the time, but some stuff coming out of him would creep out. It's called a Freudian slip, and you kind of go, huh, right? And you realize that guy is not as he's not as good as you thought he was. And the one thing with acceptance has different bars that are set, and people will try to get you to, how high can you jump, right? And they set the bar this way, they set the bar this way, they set the bar this way, depending where you are. You as a human being in a singular aspect in your life, as you grow, as you become more, and I keep getting back to this, man. As you grow, and it's so important, if anything you can grow in your life, grow in the values of God Almighty. Talk more to him, that's a value. Pray more, that's a value. Be very aware that people's influence is a value, right? As soon as you take in, that becomes your value. That's also value. The ability to accept, to absorb what others are bringing to you and inside of you, right? That's why when we're growing up, we are taught to have certain kind of values. And those values could be very wrong because someone could take a lump of mud and they will say, this is just as good as gold, right? Or you have other people that went searching all through their family bloodline, right? They found fool's gold along the way. They bring it into the family line and they say, this is our gold and we're proud of it, right? And they're so narrow-minded, they don't realize that the people outside looking in go, this is family understanding have fool's gold. It's not real gold. Cultures do the same thing. Cultures are the same way. Some cultures who haven't risen went so yay high, their values basically that's their fool's gold. And then there's other people who have risen. And the other thing about legacies is that when you decide that you don't want to be part of a legacy that you came from, you set a whole different generation ahead of you. You set the legacy, you set the tone for a whole different set of values. And if it's really true and good and gold, end up with a golden legacy. Acceptance is a very complicated and a very stupid thing that when you're kind of sitting and going, I can't believe I'm actually behaving like this. I can't believe I'm even agreeing with this person just for the sake of acceptance. It's socially acceptable to be accepting. Let's not make waves, right? And revolutionaries and people who have set tones throughout history, they always had a tough time because getting back to this prison of acceptance, people don't like to break away from acceptance because they're afraid to be rejected, abandoned, left alone. And these are the main crux as to why parents and family members, or even family in general, hold each other in such bondage. They hold under the bondage of acceptance. You find your value, you find your valuation, you find your validation through this means of acceptance, because acceptance is very good. Nobody likes the idea of walking into a job every day and everyone that in the job hates them. It's an icky feeling. And there's only so many brave people who have learned that no, wait a second here. The Bible says we've found acceptance in the beloved, right? Everything else outside of that isn't. There's only so much love that people really have. Some have tainted this much, some this much, some this much, but it's never perfect love. So you can never find your acceptance. People marry other people. They marry other people in a need for acceptance. Sometimes a guy will not have too much going for him, or so he believes that in his mind. He's maybe a nice guy, but he'll get a nice wife, and she sees his need. She sees it's an insecurity. She sees his need, but she says, "Hey, this guy has everything going for him that he doesn't see, but I can manipulate him." And what he has too, he has the goods, man. I could actually live a really good life with this guy. I can even use him, and I can even maybe have some fun on the side. And he can always, because he's always concerned about acceptance. I can always hold him. I can do so many dances with him. I can dance around his head how many times I want, and he will. Okay, dear, because of acceptance, right? How beautiful, how blessed, how amazing it is when you escape that need for acceptance. When the only thing that matters to you that what's acceptable is specific types of values and a higher place in life. That when you dress up, that dress up means you're dressed up to match what's going on inside. And you don't care who sees you, who likes you, and who doesn't. It's freeing too. It is so much freedom to not give one two who who's watching, who isn't. I've seen people even on Facebook do things. This is crazy. I've seen people, and I mean, I've been kind of like on the bad receiving end of it. I've seen people take stuff I've posted or said, and they kind of just, it's okay. We're allowed to do that, right? But you got a feeling they did it for the only reason alone that they wanted to find acceptance from all their fans. Their little fan club. And I'm gonna get into more in this discussion a little later, but another day. One of the most saddest things about people who have acceptance is when they bring innocent, beautiful creatures, dogs, cats. They bring helpless beings into their environment, and they begin to teach that being that the only way they can exist is by finding validation by my acceptance of you. And if you dance the jig good enough, then I'll accept you, right? And animals get abused that way. It's an emotional dependence upon the owner. And I've seen that. I've seen owners take advantage of the aspect of the animal being helpless and being trainable. Imagine, huh? That you're so pathetic as a human being that you actually have to use an animal for the sake of acceptance. You actually have to, that when people come around, oh, look, I'll show you how much of a boss I am, how much of a I have power over my animal. Look at the way he come over and he hugs me and he just cares so much about me. Now I realize the freaking animal's scared of you, or the animal. And by the way, animals are pretty smart. Don't get me wrong. Some animals they get the opportunity, poof, they're gone, right? But they're smart enough. I guess they realize, well, I'm going to copy animal catcher. I'm going to end up in the cage, and I want that. So I'll stick around with the ding dong here for a while, right? And to become wholesome in life is such a good thing. It is such a it really, there's no break in that circle, the wholesomeness. When to become whole inside, yeah, you're either a whole that needs to find acceptance, or you become whole. There's consistency. There's no emptiness there. Yeah, and you don't need acceptance. There's stories of people who are very wealthy and they drive just minimal, normal looking cars. They dress down. They don't really care who's gonna, something else too. The more that you have, if you have the Achilles heel, they call it the weakness of looking, needing acceptance, man, I got to tell you something. One way or the other, you're gonna find enough manipulators that are gonna take everything away from you. I guarantee it. There's multiple stories of men and women who had it all together, and they had that one little weakness in their life. It's a terrible weakness. It is so huge, it's not even funny. The need for acceptance. So, wherever you go, whatever you do, whatever dance you're going to dance in life, make it an aim to escape the need of acceptance and to be acceptable. In all due respects, there are people out there who put on a really good show, and that's all they're really good for. They're just a good show, and whether they're wearing a clown suit or they go home and they actually take off their ringmaster suit and they're actually a clown underneath all that, one way or the other, man, it's all a show, and it's a pathetic show. In any group environment, even any workplace, whatever, everyone has weaknesses, and everyone has their little face that they cover up so well. But those who don't look for acceptance are able to grow and to become well in life. And that's where you want to be, man. Well, not finding acceptance by people who don't ever have the value to say. If anybody should seek acceptance from, is God. See it to make your first aim to be acceptable and pleasing before the Most High. And that's where life begins, because when He starts endowing you, man, and start putting beautiful things and good things upon you, your acceptability before is only based on one thing: God, I know I have all these things. You come clean with Him, and I don't want to be garbage in your sight. Please make me to somebody who's so acceptable and so pleased in your sight. And that's your aim in life. Forget everyone else, man. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So we're going to talk another day. Have a good day. Like and subscribe. Bye now.